Okay, real quick, guys, a couple more things to test on these. I've been online a lot looking at the problems people are having with these, and a couple of things that we used to have back in the day as an issue is valve train problems. But you can check your valve train problems really easy with the vacuum gauge. All you need is to hook the vacuum gauge up to a manifold vacuum source, and if this thing is bouncing, if your needle on this thing, it should be in the green here when you start it up. But if it starts bouncing, it'll just sit there and bounce just back and forth, boom, 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 real fast. And that'll let you know that you have a mechanical problem instead of an electrical problem. Another issue we used to have back in the day when they first came out with the HEI, I believe it was, distributor, there's a Hall effect inside the distributor, same as these have. And a lot of times we could take a little hand torch and take the distributor cap off and take the rotor off, and you could heat that Hall effect up. And the thing, when it was cold, and before you start it up, you heat that Hall effect up and then put it back together and start it up, and that thing would run great. So we knew the Hall effect was bad because it really wouldn't set a code, because it would only do it when it was cold, you know, when it was in closed loop. So the computer wasn't making any adjustments. And then when it went into open loop, it started running good because the Hall effect had heated up and started working. It was really a pain in the ass to figure out. But that's one thing you can do too. Just be careful if you're going to heat that Hall effect up. Be careful with your little torch, you know, or whatever you're going to heat it up. Make sure your engine's cold, and then heat it up and put it back together and see if it runs okay. That'll tell you if that's your issue or not. And let's see, what else? I wanted to mention about using aftermarket parts also. You know, I had a lot of problems. So when this thing first set 1345, and I found that I had to rebuild the engine. I found out that the timing chain was bad, and I was going to have to pull the engine up or out. And I said, to hell with it, I'll just rebuild the engine. So I did that. And I was still having a PO 1345. I bought a brand new distributor from AutoZone. I don't remember what the brand was, but I bought it brand new, and I had a problem. They had welded the reluctor on wrong, and then I took it back up there, got another one, and they welded the damn gear on wrong, or actually drilled the hole for the gear wrong. So I took it back, got another one, and then the Hall effect went out on that one. So I was just like, you know what, this thing is just garbage. But I did use aftermarket part here because it's a lot easier to get to. You know, I mean, it's a lot of money there. I mean, I saved that distributor. The GM distributor for this car is like $350. Okay, so you know, but again, you get a lot of times you get what you pay for. Now this right here, mass airflow meter, I saved. The Delphi was 165, and then the AC Delco was 201 or something like that. So I saved $100 here by going with this aftermarket brand. But it's easy to get to, it's easy to change, and it has a lifetime warranty. So if I have a problem here, it's really easy to change out, and I can just go get another one. So, but I wanted to mention that. Those are two things to look for: the Hall effect in the distributor, and also the Hall effect is pretty easy to change. You got to pull the distributor out, and there's a roll pin that holds that gear in place. You knock that roll pin out, drop the gear down, so you can pull the shaft up high enough to remove that Hall effect and put the new Hall effect back in there. And you push the shaft back down, put the roll pin back in the gear, in the shaft, and you're good to go. And then you got a GM distributor, because you can buy, I think you can get a Hall effect for this thing for, I don't know, what, $50, $60 from GM. So you wouldn't even have to buy a new distributor cap. As long as the bushings aren't worn out, you just put a new Hall effect in it and you're good to go. It can cause a problem like that. It can cause a misfire, and you'll be pulling your hair out because when it warms up, it's fine. So something else to look for, guys. And I just wanted to mention that. People are having a lot of problems with this, and I hate to see that. I really do. But it is what it is. Mine's running great, and you know, hopefully people can get these things back online and running, because I love this car. So, all right, talk to you later. Peace. I'm out. Okay, guys, so I'm doing some more work on my wife's car here. What I got going on here is the door is sagging on this thing, so it's kind of hard to close. You got to really slam it pretty hard to make the latch. And what's happening is this hole for the grommet right here. Where's my grommets at? The hole for the grommet's worn out in this thing. You know, I can put this thing in here, and it's just really loose, and it looks like it fits okay, but it really doesn't. And as you can see, it's if you look down at it, it's elongated right here, and then also down on the bottom, you can see the hole is not round. If you look at it like this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take these washers, I'm going to put these washers on the bottom side. It's a thin washer, it's not real thick, so it's a millimeter, maybe 2 thick. And I'm going to weld this hole in. I'm going to fill this hole in, and then I'm going to drill it out from the bottom, and then grind it so that this grommet fits in there like it's supposed to. That it's not elongated, because once this thing gets in there, it starts rocking back and forth because it's elongated, and it's not long before the door's sagging again, and it's not closing. So anyway, I'm gonna use my MIG welder here and weld that in, and then I'll show you how this process is going. Of course, first you got to take the door off, but I mean, that's really simple. I mean, if you can't take the door off, you're probably not going to be able to do this. Anyway, all right, that's all I got. Okay, guys, so we got the top one done here, welded in. It's not done. It's welded in. Still a little bit of a hole right there, as you can see, but I don't care about that, because the washer's underneath there, which is going to give me a perfect alignment. Can't find the hole through the viewfinder. So when I start drilling this thing out, the hole is perfectly aligned because of that washer down there, and I'll be able to drill this thing out and then massage it to fit that. See how loose this drill is in here? So this is going to be a perfect way to do this. I'll just put my drill on there, use the washer that I welded on there as an alignment tool. Again, I filled it in and then ground it down, and then I'll be able to put that new grommet in there, that brass grommet, and it'll realign the door, and this thing will last for another, well, let's see, how old is this thing? 2000 to 18 years right now. So, and again, doing this right here, when you're taking doors off and all that shit, usually you end up nicking the car, you know, and doing a scratch or whatever. I mean, it's kind of hard to take these things off and on here without mucking something up. So I wanted to do this before I paint this thing, and get this out of the way, get this taken care of, and then that way when I go to paint this thing, I'll just you know, have to do minimum amount of body work on it or whatever, a few scratches here and there, and throw some more green paint on this thing, and it'll be good for another, shit, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years, I mean, whatever. So, all right, guys, that's all we got for right now. I'll continue with this thing. Again, do the top one first, so you have access through the bottom hole to drill your hole. Because if you do the bottom one first, then you got to worry about walling this thing out and all when you're trying to drill it, and you may waller the bottom one out again, and so you don't want to do that. So do the top one first, then weld the bottom. Put your washer on there, weld the bottom one. Now this thing goes on there. You really do have to worry about the thickness here, because the hinge on the door goes over this like this. It'll go on the outside of this, so you have to worry about how thick it is here, so keep that in mind too. The bottom one, I'm going to do this exact same way. I can grind the bottom one down flush, I don't care, because that hole is going to be filled in. What I wanted to do is fill the hole in. I didn't want to make this any thicker, I didn't care about that, but I wanted to fill this hole in and then drill it out true. So all right, guys, that's all I got for right now, and I'll give you an update on this as soon as I can. All right. Okay, guys, so this worked out well. There's absolutely no play in this at all. I mean, that thing is really tight. Of course, you can still turn it inside the grommet, but it's once it's knocked up in there, you got these little what you call it right here, little jimping or whatever you want to call it. It's going to go up inside that brass and spread that brass even more. And it's perfect. Turned out just right. And also, whenever you use, where's it at? Whenever you use that washer, like I said, and you start drilling that washer out, you know, you got your hole where you want it. You start drilling that washer out, the washer just falls off anyway. So you're left with the same amount of distance between these two poles right here. So this thing is good to go. All I got to do is put it back on, and I'll have to get some help to do that, but it worked out real well. It's in good shape now, and should last for many years. It's turned out really well. So doesn't rot. It's good to go. All right, guys. So I'm gonna take those back off and put some primer on it, and maybe some flat black paint or something, and call it good. All right. We will holla at you later when I get this thing back on there. Peace. Okay guys, so we're back together here, and this thing has absolutely no slack in it at all. This repair worked very well. It's got new hinges, new hinge bushings, top and bottom. And I actually had to make the one down there. I actually had to make one. I had a piece of brass tubing that it was actually brass pipe that I cut off and made the bottom bushing. I actually threaded the hinge that's welded to the body. I threaded it and then screwed that pipe in there, and it fit perfect. So I'm just using that as a hinge. I mean, as a bushing. So it's good to go, man. It doesn't sag like grandma's titties no more. It's good to go, man. So, but you can see how bad this thing was sagging right here. See where it was rubbing? So it scraped all the paint off the kick panel right there, and so that's something else I'm going to have to deal with when I paint this car. But so all I got to do is throw the panel back on this thing, the door panel back on this thing, and I didn't finish painting it because, as you can see, there's water drops, and it started raining. So I wanted to get this thing back on there. That's something I can do at a later date, and this way I don't get the interior all soaking wet and smelling bad from the water. So, all right, that's all we got, guys. It's a simple fix, easy to do. Anybody can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. So it's pretty simple. Thing's still running good. I don't have any problems with that. That issue was taken care of. So on to the next thing. All right, guys, peace. God bless, and Merry Christmas.